So let's get back into the Prem, and we have to call it the Prem now because that's what they've renamed it for marketing purposes. Sorry if you don't like it. But it was a really good first round, lots of good games. I think the Prem's in a good position. Obviously, they lost those 3 clubs a few years ago, but things are pretty strong now. Red Bull have come into Newcastle to secure them. The product on the pitch is excellent. There's lots of star names there, and there's good attendance as well. So I think things are looking fairly good. And can these teams compete in Europe as well? That's another question to kind of mark the strength of the side. We had Sale win at home to Gloucester. We had Harlequins fall to Bath. Bath fairly under strength, and indeed a lot of these teams weren't at full strength. Now, obviously because the Lions are still being rested, some of those England players still rested, and some players still to come over from the Southern Hemisphere, the Rugby Championship. We had Newcastle fall to Saracens, Northampton and Exeter, a crazy two-half game of 2 halves, 33-all, and Bristol Bears getting their first win at home there against Leicester. The table as it stands maybe might even reflect the table at the end of the year. Let's see, that's interesting. Saracens, Bears, Sale and Bath could well be the top 4. We will see, but obviously incredibly early days. So if you want to use the chapters below to skip to particular games, please do, or just watch the whole lot, that would be great. I'm trying to pick out themes really. I am going to go through the games a bit, talk about tries, but generally I'm looking at overall themes, players, what can we take away from these sides overall. Now the first game was Sale 27, Gloucester 10, and as per my preview show, I thought the Sale squad looks a bit stronger on paper than Gloucester. You look at the Gloucester pack and it's not the strongest. Of course there's good players in there, but I think there's a bit more strength with Sale. I do like the young English front row. Nathan Jabulu at hooker I thought looked particularly good. Physically he's fantastic, he's powerful, he's explosive, and his throwing looked really good. Cowan Dickey's probably still going to be first choice, but if they can share the duties between the two of them, I think that's a fantastic signing for them. Of course, you've got George Ford pulling all the strings from number 10, and a fantastic signing, I think, from Exeter. Jacques Vermeulen, probably their best player, they nicked as well, so they're going to be very strong, probably very similar to last year where they're going to get very close. The first try, to be fair, was a bit of good fortune with the ball being dislodged from Curry, squirting to Roebuck, but that happens sometimes. Talking about Gloucester, loads of enthusiasm. Clearly they're trying to play the pattern that they played last season where they try and run the ball from everywhere, but it really didn't work in this game and they didn't change. I don't think they will. I think they're going to be stubborn with it, but are they quite good enough to run from everywhere? I think a big theme was we saw Bristol do that last year and do okay, but they've seemed to be adding a bit more pragmatism to their game from their first outing, and Gloucester don't. So I think they're not quite good enough to run it out of everywhere, because Sale could just stay on their feet, turn the screw. They've got a bit more street smarts, Gus Waugh, George Ford, pulling penalties, pinging the corners, stuff like that. And the fact that Gloucester just kept running at Sale meant that they could get those turnovers. Curry, Rod, Vermeulen all getting ones. Roebuck is looking fantastic on the wing, in the air. Brilliant. He's going to be England's first choice winger, I'm absolutely certain. At the end of the half, Gloucester score a really good try, a launch play. England breakout star Seb Atkinson busting the gain line and then back blind to a powerful Jack Clement carry. It was really impressive, perfect execution. So they were looking okay, but then they kept going wide to wide and not kicking at all, and they just had to be perfect to do it. And that means Sale can just attack and put pressure on in the Gloucester half, and Sale weren't always perfect. But when you build up that sort of territory and possession pressure, it's going to tell. Carpenter, who had an impressive game, hands off Max Llewellyn, who did go grabby and high, and they break away, but it was ruled out, that try, for a forward pass. But still Gloucester keep trying to run out of their own half, and it just backfires. Clement cops a yellow under all the pressure, and I'm shouting at the TV for Gloucester just to kick for territory, take the pressure off, but they don't. I mean, they defend fairly well, but eventually it's going to come, and there's a try for Sale, just a powerful maul, capitalising on the yellow card, so it's 12-10. Sale take the lead, and the theme just continues. It's not often in a game you get a theme continuing and continuing, but Gloucester were running out of their half, getting caught, Ford pinging the corners, the pressure comes on, then another try, really good finish from Joe Carpenter, showing some good pace to finish off 22-10, and there the game really was slipping away. More kicking to the corner from Sale, more mauling, a useful bonus point try, nice offloads from Roebuck, and Carpenter gets it 27-10. And that's it really. Gloucester, I think they need to rethink. I don't think they're so good they can just run everything. I like the ambition, but maybe in better parts of the pitch They're a decent team, but Sale are a very solid outfit. If you just run at them all day, I think they're going to do pretty well, and they're going to be very close to that top 4 come the end. Then let's talk about maybe the showcase game of the first round, Harlequins versus Bath. Bath, a number of players down, particularly at fly half. We have Finn Russell, who's not good to go yet. We have Carreras, who's going to be coming from the Southern Hemisphere, so someone had to step into 10. I think Donahue was injured as well, so Max Ajomo stuck his hand up, and goodness me, he looked amazing. I think he's played there for the under-18s before for Bath, let me know if that's true, but goodness me, he said, I am an all-round player, and I think England coaches will have to pay attention to that he can be a playmaker at 12 and even fill in at 10, which could be very useful for his selection. Harlequin showed plenty of classic Harlequins things, scoring some great tries. Tyrone Green, good feet to pick off the big Bath locks and put Evans in for the first of his hat-trick. But the second try is from Quins as well, with just lovely pop passing all around, great lines, great speed, classic Harlequins try at their best. A few decent lines as well from the likes of Cunningham South, who they're playing at second row, which is interesting. We'll see how that one goes. But then the story of the match is the power from Bath and the subs they bring on. The first try, a classic maul, just really strong stuff, getting one back, even though Evans bags his hat-trick on the half hour, hoovering up a bouncing ball quickly, and Don Brandt is away, Evans in support. So good tries from Quins, but they just can't deal with that power. The next try is Bath with a really sharp tap penalty from Lawrence, and he catches Cunningham South offside, and that's a yellow, and that's really not good news. The forwards bash away from Bath. No, it's slow stuff, but they get their try. A first try for Billy Seller. He is a real big prospect. I was banging on about him and Kepu Tupelutu all last year. We're seeing them now. They both played in this game. They're going to be playing lots of games for Bath this year, and they will be playing for England at some point. Maybe not this year, but next year or the year after, definitely. So that was 17-14. It stays that way at half-time, even though Josh Bayliss made a brilliant breakout, but Joe Thockenseger does have the hands of a digital clock sometimes and drops a clanger. So Quins are up, but the power signs are showing. Last year, Harlequins' defence was a problem. It is again here. There's a high ball going to Arundel. There's plenty of time for the backs to push up to mark him, but for some reason, young centre Kerr doesn't mark him. He marks an empty space, lets Arundel catch it and just burn off up the pitch. So really bad stuff. And then he goes around Tyrone Green. It was not a good look for him at all. 60-metre burst, and Urbano finishes it off. So impressive from Arundel for sure, but very poor from Quins, as they shouldn't have let him run out of defence. Then on the hour, it seems unfair that Bath can unload the players from the bench they have. Ted Hill, Sam Underhill to name two. They're doing it above board apparently, but it's just such a good squad, and they batter over 2 tries straight away, and the game is gone. Griffin and then Underhill, just strong stuff. There's one more try for Bath, there's 2 for Harlequins, but the game is done and the power really told. Harlequins are a good side, they're going to score good tries, but they've just got to be able to deal with that top end power, and they can't quite at the moment. So good away win for Bath, especially because there's more players to come back. Then we have one of the sides who are very interesting this year, and it's Newcastle. Of course, with the investment of Red Bulls, they've managed to sign a few, but it was last minute, so they haven't got too many. There's a few to come in. The likes of Liam Williams will be playing soon, but certainly they've got some good players. Hurl was a good signing last year, and he scores early on some really good lines and pace. And then a bit of a nasty incident, actually. It's a double tip tackle, and it looks like, the guy's going to get a broken neck with this sort of tip tackle. It's not very nice at all, but it's a 20-minute red card this year. If it's not, a straight red, it probably should have been a straight red, but it doesn't seem quite right. 20 minutes for that sort of danger, and maybe that was the break that Saracens needed, or maybe it could have been a bit different. In this whole game, Newcastle had plenty of possession early on. They're trying to break down that 14 men of Saracens, but they can't do it. They are definitely lacking a bit of power. Saracens in the scrum department were a man down, but they did fine. Reece Carey's an absolute monster, so they're destroying that Newcastle scrum with a man down isn't a good look for sure. For Saracens, it was 1 visit into the 22 and 1 try. Strong maul, strong carries, and a lovely skip pass from Van Zyl. Tompkins puts in Brandon Jackson, and that is a nice try, but they weren't exactly dominating possession. But Saracens a bit more clinical. Fergus Burke at 10 will be delighted. It looks like Owen Farrell's going to play more 12, so that's good news for him and for Saracens really, because Burke was going nicely last season. And with that setup, Burke loops around as Farrell plays first receiver, and Burke can put in a really nice pass in some phases of attack Willis, Jackson bouncing off defenders. Theo Dan really powerful carries as normal, and Oyama Christie is a really explosive player as he goes in unopposed, and Newcastle just left like skittles on the ground. So that was a good try. Definitely one bright light for Newcastle is their big signing, Mafi, the number 8 from Japan. He is a firecracker. He is massive. He's skittling guys around. You can see the difference that money makes when you can make signings like this. He's a player that Newcastle just haven't had, and they're going to need some more of them, but he does really well, sets up an attack, and really the fullback Chamberlain should be through a hole but leaves the ball behind. So plenty of chances for Newcastle, but not enough quality for them to finish. And to be fair, I think Newcastle will be kicking themselves a bit that it wasn't closer. It was sloppy, it was disjointed, but they had plenty of possession, and maybe fittingly the next score comes from an overthrown line out. Tompkins capitalises 10-25, and the game's just slipping away, even though on the run of play they're doing okay. And the next try is a bit messy as well, just one kick down the pitch, a nasty bounce, and we see the first look at Noah Kalore as he burns up the ground to gather nicely. We interviewed him when he was with England under-20s, and he is an athlete. I like the way he jumped for the ball as well. And after that, the damage is done really. It's a try apiece, but Saracens come away with the win. It was pretty messy. Newcastle just need a bit more quality, like I said, but you can see what they're doing coaching-wise. Their shapes look fine, but they need more Maffis in that team to make a move. I think they will win games this year, though. They will do a bit better. Will that mean they move off the bottom of the table? Not so sure. Saracens definitely want to be a bit tidier, but bonus point away win is good enough. Then a really interesting head-scratcher of a game with Northampton drawing 33-all with Exeter. A classic game of two halves where Northampton completely on top for the first half, and then they switch off and Exeter go on top for the second half, ending up 33-all. I don't think anybody's going to be overly happy with that game, but anyway, they get something from it. One of the positives from this game might have been Emmanuel Fewabusu coming back to fitness. He scored a good try straight away, sniffing around the ruck with a sharp pick and go, which is what he does differently to other wingers, but then his hammy went later in this game, so that's really annoying because it was looking like he was pretty good there. Exeter were struggling in the set piece, Asafa Scott losing his feet in the scrum, then they overcommit to the maul in the next play and they concede a try with Coles going over, and Asafa Scott again making a mistake and not lining up Coles when he had time, so errors after errors there to make it 7-all. We definitely saw signs of some lovely Northampton hands in this game, which is what they're known for. Their new fly half Bellew from France was showing some good handling, sometimes overplaying to be fair, but good stuff from Dingwall as well, who's a good all-round player. Hendy, Searing break, up wide, and Pearson finishes, so that's 12-7. We saw a couple of really smart line-outs in this first half from Northampton. A clever play at the front from Callum Chick. He's a really good signing, that's for sure. Smart backs handling again. Hendy, Dingwall, Ram, all involved. Tadero, goes in out wide, so that's 19-7. Dingwall pops Litchfield through on a hard line, but if you look on the replay, I don't know what Slade is doing. It's a classic wraparound. Slade will have seen it 100 times before, but he drifts incredibly early on the looping Bellew, leaving Litchfield wide open, and he gallops through and they finish off, and no wonder Rob Baxter was having a go at them at half time. That was 26-7, and I'm afraid to say it's Slade again at fault for the next try. Before half time it goes 33-7. Slade bites in on Litchfield when he's already been tackled, so the extra man is there and Hendy goes through for Tadero, and it's a really bad defensive choice from Slade. 33-7, and it looks like Exeter could be down and out, but I definitely think there's some complacency in this second half. Of course it's subconscious, but they're getting a bit too confident. Bellew gives away an interception, then on the next play he chips over the top to no one, giving the possession back. Then for some reason Northampton have no one in the backfield. Hendy's up flat and no one's covering in behind, so his grubber to Brown Bampo is perfect and he just cruises in as Saints switch off. Then on 54 minutes, more woes for Northampton as they just don't number up in defence. Sure, they're a man down because there's a breakdown over one side, but they need to all crunch in and leave the space out wide. Instead, they leave a massive 50-metre hole in the middle of the park. It's absolutely massive. You've got a lurking Hodge there. Can't believe his luck as he flies through and Vincent gets the final pass. Exeter's confidence is starting to build. They're getting the offloads going. Nice one to Fizzalau as they really break through. Vincent's getting into the game, a mistake from Pearson. He gets too excited, he's got hands on the ball in a jackal, but the ref calls him off and he keeps his hands on. And it's turn for Exeter to fire a trick play back at the line out. Really clever, as Vincent just wanders in looking like he's not going to get it, and Yendall just fires it flat to him without a jump, and over he goes. And Northampton aren't even watching. The big new signing Van der Mesch is just looking the other way. It is 33-26. Indeed, the subs were coming on for Northampton and it was having no effect whatsoever. And the winning try comes from a counter-attack, but Saints do have time to organise their chase, but it's completely disjointed. Half of them fly up, there's not enough out wide, and they've got acres for Emmanuel Fayo-Abusu to go in. He pulls his hamstring but still manages to limp in to get a game of two halves finished at 33-all. Very frustrating for both sides, I guess. Some positives, some negatives, but anyway, point shared. Then the final game of the round was Bristol 42, Leicester 24, but this game I think was closer than that scoreline suggests. Leicester stayed in it pretty well, and Bristol won by slightly different means actually. A definite ploy from Leicester was just to get the ball to Adam Radwan in space, which is a decent ploy. England did it with Jason Robertson plenty, and off a blind scrum they just get it to Radwan and he's too good for Ibitoy and Jordan. Lovely finish. Leicester were actually 3-12 up early on. It was interesting that the Bears got their way back into this game, not just by being flash, which they tried, but also by grinding, by mauling. They get a try through that, but then Leicester, who have the best of the opening hour, once again get the ball to Radwan in space off a scrum, just too hard to mark, and he scores again 10-17. But Bristol managed to level up at half-time 17-all using a very clever trick play in the line-out. They put Ibitoy in the line-out, clearly not going to be lifted or lift. He's there so he can get an offload early. It works perfectly, long to the back into Ibitoy, and they're off, and the ball goes back out blind to Ibitoy himself for the try. Very, very clever. Bristol are trying to play their fast offloading game. It's looking good, but the Tigers are dealing with it. But the try comes from a maul again, 27-17. So again, I like the way they're mixing it. It wasn't working with the offloading play, so they go to the forwards. You've got to mix it up, and I like this change. The game is still in the balance. Leicester could come back, but I think the turning point was Ravovo, who comes on the wing, and he was one of their best players last season. A big handoff, and that wins a penalty, goes to a line out, and Josh Carrington simply outgasses Hassel Collins. Not a good look for Hassel Collins at all. That try probably shouldn't have been scored, and that really was the game there. 32-24. It's backwards and forwards for the last 10 minutes until counter-ruck, ball squirts out, Reece Sammet scorches down the side, showing his pace there, 42-24. So it wasn't pretty, but they toughed it out, and I like that from Bristol. They'll score more attractive tries than they did in this game, but that's what they want to see if they're going to make it all the way. Anyway, that is my summary of round one of all those games. Let me know what you thought, who looked good, what were the themes, how is your team looking? Get all the comments down below. Do like, do subscribe if you appreciate these sorts of videos, and I'll catch you next time.